Howdy, folks. Today we are in our f4u Corsair, which is a World War II era carrier fighter, aboard our beautiful Essex class ship that doesn't seem to be moving at all. It's moving good enough. And today for right now, I'm going to record multiple of these probably, but for just right now, we're going to cover the takeoff, just the takeoff section, because I actually did another take of this where I did a takeoff and then I tried to land, but I fucked up the landing, so it'll be two parts. When I'm able to land this thing, I'll record it and it'll be fine. But just for now, we're going to get this thing rolling, get this thing started. We're going to take off, okay? So a couple things we need to know. Well, really with any plane ever, there's a couple of things you need to consider when you're just trying to start it. One, electricity. You need electricity going through the spark plugs, all that fun stuff, to actually get engine spinning. Two, fuel. So how are we going to get fuel to this thing? Very simple. Easier said than done. And then I would say 3 would be the condition of the engine, but this is a simulator. The engine is in perfect condition. It's in prime, this is not real life where this plane has been sitting around all day. This is ideal conditions. This engine is fine. So we don't really need to worry about that. But I would say a 4th thing would be how the engine actually starts. There's a bunch of different ways that people have started plane engines over the years. In the early days, they would have a guy who actually would just spin the propeller, and then a guy sitting inside the plane would turn a switch to enable the electricity and the fuel. And a guy would spin the propeller and then run away. He would do it there's a very coordinated way you would do it, and then basically you would hand start the plane. And there's also a way you can do that by yourself if you really need to, but in this particular instance, we actually have a luxury. We have an inertial starting system. It's the starter on your car. It's a little motor that comes out, spins the motor, the propeller for us, which spins the engine up, and then the engine catches and gets going. So first things first, we have all of our electricals here. All of our lights and stuff. We can zoom in actually a lot. So these are all the lights, the flashing bits and bobs and whatnot. But really, we're just going to start with the battery. Battery, fuel pump, and then eventually we'll use the primer. But it's not right now. And then up here we have some switches for master arm. For example, this is the gun sight. Make the gun sight brighter or dimmer. If you're fighting at night, you might make it dimmer. In the day, you might make it brighter, such and such. These are bomb arming fuses. So, if I want to release the center bomb, I'd use this one, or left, or right. Then we're going to use this is kind of a weird position to see, but our magnetos. This is basically the thing that delivers the electricity to the spark plugs in our engine, so that's going to be very important. And actually, as far as we're concerned, that's really all on the electrical side. Next thing we're going to cover is the fuel. You'll notice anything important is marked in red, and as you can imagine, this is very important. Our fuel selector switch. Oh, we want main. We don't have drop tanks. We just have our main tank. During this era, and actually even to this day, it's very common for military aircraft to carry what are called drop tanks. They're basically small, extra fuel tanks on the wings. And then, halfway through the flight or whenever, once those tanks are empty, you drop them. They're drop tanks. I know, very imaginative. But, if we were doing some really extended long-range mission, we could use drop tanks. In this case, we just have our main one. Enough explanation. This is our tail wheel lock. We're going to keep this locked. And there's a very important reason why. You see, this plane works as a tricycle, so it's got, the 2 wheels here and here, and then one in the back. Now, normally the one in the back can actually swivel. So you can turn real hard left or spin in circles or do whatever you want to do. But in this particular instance, we're going to be going straight down this runway. And if we go off to the left, we end up in the drink. If we go off to the right, we end up right in the conning tower here. And we don't want that. So on most aircraft of this era, there's actually an option to lock this tail wheel. This tail wheel now is stuck. It can't turn either way. So that way we can just go straight off the deck here and take off. Very common thing. Next, wing folding. Very important. We'll let this come down. Actually, while we're at that, we'll put down our flaps a bit. Very cool feature at the time. On the predecessor to this plane, the F6F Hellcat, and even the F4F Wildcat, this had to be done by hand. So in the Corsair, it's very nice to have this as an automatic feature. And we'll wait for those little gates to close. Now, you may wonder what that noise was. That's a little horn, and this is very cool, I think. It's a little horn that warns you if the wings are not locked. So, to keep it simple, this is up and down, you know, so we have them spread now, and then we can fold them later. And this is a lock. So you fold the wings down, and then you put this lock, and it actually puts, I think, 3 1-inch thick pins that go into the wing to actually secure it. And the reason this plays, if I do this, here, watch. So now the pins aren't in place, and the wings could, you know, move up and down freely. And the reason you want those pins in place is because if they aren't in place, the wings will shear off. They will literally get ripped off just by the force of flying around. So that's to make sure as long as this lever is pulled up like this, everything's secure, it's all locked in, and that horn is a warning to make sure that you know, remember to do that, because it's very important. Now, you'll have to forgive me. I'm hoping to get this in kind of one go, but the last take of this I did, I actually took a little bit of time to do this. I had trouble starting the engine, because this is the first time I've done this in a while, so I'm not professional at it, and besides, I usually don't do it anyways. But now we're priming the engine. If you have a lawnmower or something, and you have that little bulb on the side you're supposed to press to get fuel into the system, kind of the same deal. Actually, not even kind of, it is the same deal. We're priming the engine, we're putting fuel in and getting everything kind of juiced up and getting everything flowing a little bit. Okay, enough of that. We're going to bring our throttle to about half. We have our mixture, which is just how much fuel is in the engine, all the way down, because we don't want to flood the engine. We'll let the engine warm up a little bit, and then we'll add more mixture, just a little bit. And hopefully, again, I'm hoping I'll be able to get this in one go. Gonna let the engine warm up. So I'm holding the starter. I have the throttle on, and I'm gonna wait for that needle, which I will point out eventually. I'm gonna wait for this needle to hit the 1, or this gauge to hit the 1. Now I should note that normally, if I was doing this as a sortie with other aircraft, they actually get started. They do all this stuff, unfold the wings and everything, and they get lined up at the back of this carrier here. And they're all prepped, and then the first guy goes, then the second, then the third, fourth. Oh, come on. Oh, I stopped holding the button for a moment. Oops. Hold the button again. Okay. I think we're living like Larry. Coolers. Open those a little bit. Okay. Now the scary part. On most aircraft carriers nowadays, they have a catapult here. You'll line up here, and then they have a big slingshot that flings you off the end. But that first really came around in the late 40s, early 50s. So the way we're going to do this is the old-fashioned way. We just have to gun it. And you're like, I know you might be laughing, but literally we're going to drag strip, just hold the brakes, full throttle, do a burnout basically, and then just fly off the end of the carrier deck. And if you do everything right, then you can usually sometimes get it, and I mean, no pressure. If you get it wrong, you end up in the big drink here and you get run over by the carrier and die. So no pressure. But this is always, this and the landing are easily the most difficult things. And if you had to ask me, this is easier than landing. And this is already difficult, so, But we're all warmed up, everything's set, it's just going to be a skill issue. Actually, I want to set my trim. Set my trim hard over. Yeah. Okay, let's hope this goes well. I want to get that tail wheel up in the air. I want to get like nice and level as soon as possible. And then just kind of just go easy, easy, easy. Get the gear up as soon as possible. Because the actual gear on this plane have kind of air brakes on them. So if you don't get them up as soon as possible, you will, you'll actually be losing speed. Bring up the flaps. Okay, okay. We're big chilling, I think. Yeah. Elevator pitch, so we're going to bring it nose up, nose up. We're all balanced out. Okay. We're good. Dude, we're big chilling. We're bing chilling. Like ice cream in Chinese. And then, of course, I actually have stuff set up over there that I could blow up if you really want to see it, but, then I would go fly around, do whatever I need to do, and then go back and land. So this has been a actually surprisingly successful video on how to take off in the f4u Corsair. So if you ever find yourself traveling back to 1944 on an Essex class carrier and you need to take off in a f4u Corsair, now you know how to do it.